Hi, welcome. My name's Finny, and this is Yes Presents, Young Environmentalist Society Presents. I'm here interviewing Frank Quevedo, along with my fellow young environmentalists, Eliza and Zianya. So, Frank, can you give us a brief history of the South Fork Natural History Museum?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I want to thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
The history of the South Fork Natural History Museum began in 1988 with 7 founding fathers, 7 naturalists got together, probably over a lunch and some refreshments, and they were talking about maybe starting an organization and trying to bring their knowledge and their experiences about the natural world to the community. So in 1988, they decided to start the South Fork Natural History Society. And it took about a year from the time they decided to start the organization to establish their New York State charter from the Department of Education. And they got their nonprofit status as a 501c3 organization so that people can donate and support this organization. So in 1989, the kickoff of the organization was started. And it was started in a little clubhouse in Amagansett for about 16 years. It was a place where people came to talk about their natural world experiences. The clubhouse also had aquariums and terrariums with different animals of the South Fork. People would bring them. School groups were brought to the clubhouse. And it grew. Over time, their membership grew, and they needed a place to create the dream of the organization, which was a state-of-the-art museum. And in 1999, I believe, this is all before I became the director of the museum. In 1999, the South Fork Natural History Society Board of Directors bought a property at the Bridgehampton Sag Harbor Turnpike where the museum is now. And for about 6 years, it was renovated to the state-of-the-art museum, and now we're celebrating our 34th year as a nature education organization at that particular site.
Wow.
What does a typical workday look like for you?
Typical workday for me. Well, we begin our day at 9 o'clock. All my staff and all the team of the South Fork Natural History Museum, all the environmental educators, the education director, the communications director, we all begin at 9 o'clock. Our doors open to the public at 10 a.m. Every day we're open, except for 4 major holidays, which are Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, and Easter. But our doors are always open to the public from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And a typical day for me is when I come in, and I usually like to come in a little earlier than 9 a.m. before my staff gets there. And I do a little walk around the museum to make sure all the tanks are running, make sure that the museum looks like it's ready to go for when the staff gets there and we open up to the public. One of the things that I always check is our tanks to make sure they're running properly, make sure the animals are alive and doing well before we open to the public, and to make sure that the staff is ready to produce and be productive during the working hours. So that's a typical day for me.
What are your most favorite and least favorite parts of the job?
My favorite part of the job is coming to work every day. One of the things that I've learned over time is that if you are really passionate about something that you do, you never look at it as a job. You look at it as a labor of love, something that you love to do. And one of the things that I'm really lucky is that I found this passion of environmental education. I went to school for marine biology. I was involved in the environmental field for many years. And for 30 years that I've been on the east end of Long Island, I feel like I've never had a job because I really love what I do. That is the best part of my job, is coming to work every day. I enjoy interacting with the visitors that come to the museum, but I also love interacting with my staff. I feel like my team and the work that we do at the museum is very valuable to the community, and it's really rewarding. So that is a great part of my job, and I love it so much. The downfall of some of my work hours at the museum is sometimes things don't go as planned. Sometimes you come in and some of the tanks are not running well, and sometimes you have floods on the floor before we open. So a lot of times we have to make sure that all the living sustainable systems for each of our living tanks or aquatic exhibits are running properly before we open. But sometimes you come in and there's maintenance issues that need to be tended to before we open to the public. That's the worst part of my job, but it's not that bad.
I know you're the director now of the museum, but what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Not a marine biologist and not an environmental scientist. When I was growing up, I grew up in a urban setting just north of New York City. And when I was growing up, we didn't have places like the South Fork Natural History Museum to go and explore and enjoy those things that I really didn't know about as a child. So I took on becoming an athlete, and I learned how to play sports when I was growing up. And I was involved in a lot of sports. I played football, I played basketball. And the one thing that I really was really good at was baseball. And I pursued that career. I wanted to be a baseball player as far of the highest level that I could possibly make it to. And then as you realize, as you start getting older and getting into different levels of skills, you realize that you're not as good as you thought you were.
Right.
And now you got to start thinking about doing something differently than becoming a professional athlete. And then I decided, because my parents took me to different outdoor environments, my dad took me fishing as a young child, and that was like the thing that really got me into thinking of becoming a marine biologist. And that's when I started to take those steps to go into school and pursuing that career. And luckily, I graduated from LIU Southampton in 1998, and I never looked back. You know, I enjoy what I chose to do.
How did you get into this field of work?
Well, when I was pursuing my marine biology degree at LIU Southampton, and I'll never forget this, I went into my fisheries biology teacher's office, and I asked him if he knew of anyone that was looking for work, you know, anybody that was looking to hire, because I needed to work. You know, I was going to school, I had student loans that I had to pay, I had bills to pay as I was a student in college, so I needed to find some work, but I wanted to find work that was related to my field that I was pursuing and the career that I wanted to pursue. So I ended up walking into Dr. Stephen Tuttleback's office at LIU Southampton and asked him if he knew anyone, and he introduced me to John Aldred from the East Hampton Town Shellfish Hatchery. And I called John up, and John said, yeah, if you want to do an internship, stop by my office, which was located in Montauk. I went there, I met with John, and he hired me part-time as I was a student in college. And the thing that I really remember best is that during that time when I was pursuing my college degree, but also working at the same time part-time, it opened doors for me to meet these people and to get into the field that I was pursuing. I was out in the field working hard, restoring shellfish beds, and at the same time I would come home, open up my books and study and try to get my college degree. When I graduated in 1998, about 3 days after graduation, John Aldred asked if I wanted to have a full-time position at the East Hampton Town Shellfish Hatchery.
Wow.
And I took it. You know, I'm very fortunate that I was able to be asked to have a full-time position there. But again, I think a lot of it has to do with your passion of what you want to do in life, and also to have a good work ethic, you know, showing up on time, being motivated to go to work. And those things actually play a part in opening doors for opportunities as you pursue the career that you want to do for the rest of your life. And that's how I started.
How did the museum come up with the idea of having the Young Environmentalist Society?
If I recall, in 2019, I believe it was our third annual climate change symposium that we were doing at the museum. And I believe at the end of the event, that we noticed that there was a lot of children, including Finny and other children that were also at the climate change event. And after the event, we were all outside discussing ways to get children involved in understanding climate change, getting them more involved in the environmental work that we were trying to do at the museum. And it just came about as a group effort to come up with the Young Environmentalist Society program. And I think Finny had a lot of influence with that. Finny and his mom, Mare, and a couple of other founding members of the Young Environmentalist Society, Theo, I believe, and Tyler, as the founding members of the group. And I believe Mare was hired to start becoming the director of the Young Environmentalist Society, and she came up with some wonderful programs over the years, and we never looked back. That's where we started in 2019, and I think this is our fourth year now as the Young Environmental Society group, and it's a wonderful, you know, another added bonus and something that the young children such as yourselves can learn, participate in, and becoming the stewards of the environment in the future.
What is your biggest hope for our generation?
The biggest hope for your generation is to hopefully having what I have now, this, you know, the open space that is currently here at this moment. is something that I would like for your generation to have and to protect in the future. You guys are the future stewards of our planet. You know, when I'm long gone, maybe one of you will be the executive director of the South Fork Natural History. That's the hope. That's the objective of our organization, is to teach young, inspiring stewards of our planet to carry the torch, to take on the role of protecting the planet. And that's what I want to see happen. And I'm seeing it today. This is very encouraging for me to be here today, being interviewed by the future stewards of our environment.
Thank you, Frank. Do you have anything that you would like to add?
I think I just mentioned what I wanted to add was that how encouraging this is to be here today, to have you young folks having the passion to protect the environment, interviewing me, getting involved in the Young Environmentalist Society, bringing it back to your school teachers, your friends at school, getting them involved, and that's the only way we can spread the word and protect this world for the future. So I appreciate everything that you're doing today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Frank.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.